Yeah, astonishing development this. So the International Criminal Court sparked outrage yesterday after requesting an arrest warrant for Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, with both Rishi Sunak and the US President Joe Biden slamming that decision. The ICC's chief prosecutor, Karim Khan, announced yesterday that he'd applied for arrest warrants for Netanyahu, the Israeli Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant, as well as the leaders of Hamas on suspicion of war crimes. A decision on whether to issue an arrest warrant will now be made by ICC judges, so we have to wait and see what happens there. But Labour's Shadow Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, was quick out the traps to give the International Court his unequivocal backing.
Labour's position is that the decision by the International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor to apply for arrest warrants is an independent matter for the court and the prosecutor. And Labour believes that the UK and all parties to the Rome Statute have a legal obligation to comply with orders and warrants issued by the court.
So, if Labour supports the arrest of the Israeli leader, then surely a Labour government would also stop arming and start divesting from Israel entirely, thus upending decades and decades of British foreign policy. And that comes just one day after Starmer's party committed to making it easier to change gender by requiring just a single medical professional to sign off on a gender recognition certificate. So it does look a lot like a vote for Labour might be a vote for more blokes in women's changing rooms and a vote as well to divest from Israel. So is Labour wrong to back the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu? Going head-to-head on this are the former Israeli government spokesperson Eylon Levy and former Labour speechwriter James Mathewson. Thank you very, very much. Eylon, this seems like a remarkable decision. A Labour government appears to want to make an enemy of Israel.
Yeah, it's a frankly appalling way to treat an ally, an outrageous lack of backbone in the face of a brutal terror organization. I think that Prime Minister Rishi Sunak was completely right when he said you simply cannot compare a democratic state fighting a barbaric terror organization and that terror organization. Israel is fighting to prevent another October 7th massacre. Hamas is fighting to perpetrate another October 7th massacre. It's as simple as that. Israel is fighting to bring back the hostages who are being tortured in those terror dungeons, and it's doing it in fiendishly difficult circumstances, with Hamas embedded inside and underneath civilian facilities, taking steps that no army in the history of the world, including Britain, by the way, has ever taken to try to keep civilians safe. And so to try to tie Israel's hands, stop it going after the hostages, stop it going after Hamas, is frankly appalling and sends a message that only emboldens terrorists and tell them their tactics work.
Well, James, I'll put it to you that Labour will make Iran very happy by this, just to appease the pro-Palestine mob who used to be their voters.
It's not about appeasing anyone. It's not about appeasing anyone. And actually, we're going to talk about appeasing people. Then what we're seeing is the British government right now going to do everything in its way, including the American government under Joe Biden. And it's very concerning as we approach elections, crucial elections in both Britain and America, that both governments are in this position where they are kowtowing to anything that Israel does. How far do we follow them down this rabbit hole, this murderous rabbit hole that Benjamin Netanyahu has taken the Israeli people down? The families of those hostages standing bravely in the streets saying he does not represent us, he does not stand for us. And he is taking the Israeli people on this crusade to save his own political career, and in doing so is murdering children and civilians every single day.
So, James, just sticking with you on this then. So is Labour, under a Labour government, which we may well have in a few months' time, seriously going to make an enemy of Israel and with it lose a key ally in a vital part of the world, undo decades and decades of foreign policy? That's what a vote for the Labour government would be, is it?
I don't understand how you've come to that conclusion, Parry.
Well, he wants to arrest the leader, so it's pretty strong.
They haven't said that they want to arrest the leader. They said they respect the ICC's independence. When is it that we've started saying as a country that international bodies and important establishment organisations like the ICC are all of a sudden the bad guys and they're all of a sudden some fringe, crazy left-wing groups? It's absolute nonsense. We respect and should respect the independence of the ICC. And the very fact that they're saying that they want Benjamin Netanyahu arrested and that they're going to recommend that. And obviously we'll see what the result is in the end, when the vote comes to it. But that's the important thing, is that the independence is respected in the meantime. Labour isn't passing judgment on that. What David
Well,
Lammy said.
I wonder if that's the point, that Labour isn't passing enough judgment on it.
Shouldn't pass judgment. The independence of the ICC is a court.
Okay.
It should be independent.
All right, Eylon, come back to that. Then the ICC is an independent institution. We are duty-bound to respect it.
You know, the Israeli defense minister found out that the prosecutor was seeking an arrest warrant from CNN. That just tells you the level that this is political theatre, a political farce, and this is not serious. Just look at the allegations that we are talking about. Accusations that Israeli leaders are responsible for extermination, for God's sake. We are fighting a campaign to get hostages back, to destroy Hamas, and along the way we have been urging civilians time and again, surrendering the element of surprise to get out of Hamas strongholds. Before this major operation in Rafah now, hundreds of thousands of people fleeing because Israel is telling them, please get out of the way, terrorists are trying to hold you as human shields. The allegation of deliberate starvation, as if over 500 million tons of aid have not entered Gaza since the start of the war, most of it food, as if Israel has not added 3 new land crossings, facilitated airdrops and opened a brand new port. Israel is allowing unrestricted amounts of humanitarian aid to enter Gaza. That's why the markets there are full. That's why the prices there have collapsed. There is a problem that Hamas is hijacking aid, and when you take that and spin it against your own ally, frankly, I think it should leave Britain's other allies around the world feeling...
James, Look, James, can I just ask this to you? Because, I mean, by extension, I think, of what David Lammy has said today, I mean, it would only seem natural to me that a Labour government would then also seek to stop selling arms to Israel, would seek to cut a load of diplomatic ties with Israel. You would have to do that. If the ICC court decides that Benjamin Netanyahu needs to be arrested and the Labour Party back that, we would have to sever diplomatic and military ties with Israel. Is that really what a vote for a Labour government would mean? Would you back that?
I think back in whatever the ICC says, it's not a question of whether we go that. I mean, it's not convenient. Morals aren't convenient a lot of the time, Patrick, and they're not comfortable. But when friends and allies commit atrocities, you have to be able to hold them to account. And what I would say to Eylon is, to say that Britain somehow is duty-bound to protect Israel when Israel has just killed British civilians, what kind of friend and ally does that? What kind of friend and ally, reacts in the way that they've done to our civilians who are on the ground providing aid to Palestinian people? This is murder.
I think a friend and ally stands by Israel as it fights to bring back the hostages who represent 24 nations, including British nationals.
To save
but I do put it to you, James, that there is a bit of a blind spot here from David Lammy, which is let's play the tape forward, which is, OK, so let's say the ICC decide that Netanyahu needs to be arrested and the Labour Party back that and they wash their hands of it and say, we're duty-bound to do this, and then Labour gets elected, and then how on earth do they have diplomatic relations with our key ally in that region? And can I also put it to you, James, we reported this yesterday, that the polls are in from the West Bank, and it shows that support for Hamas is actually on the rise. So a free Palestine is a terror state.
It's on the rise.
It is.
Of course it's on the rise.
Yeah, exactly. So they would vote for Hamas, right? So you would stop arming Israel to allow Hamas in.
What would you do if your children were being killed? They are being pushed into the arms of terrorists who are taking advantage of them. That is the doing of Israel, and Israel is furthering that, and it benefits Benjamin Netanyahu to do so. And as I would say, finally, on the Benjamin Netanyahu issue is, if you break alliance with Benjamin Netanyahu, you are not giving up on Israel as a country. Britain should be an ally with Israel that should stand side by side with the Israeli people. Benjamin Netanyahu is not Israel. He does not represent Israel.
OK, James, all right. Look, Eylon, can I just ask you, what would it mean for Britain? OK, let's localise this. What would this mean for Britain if we had a Labour government and they were full square behind an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu? What would that look like for us here?
I think it would be appalling for Britain on the world stage. It would be throwing its most powerful ally in the Middle East under a bus, while Israel is fighting against Hamas, which is an Iranian proxy army, which is on the same side as the Houthis that have been attacking British ships and British personnel in the Middle East. The fact is, Israel and the United States are strong allies based not only on shared democratic values, but shared interests of stability in the Middle East, while Hamas fights on the same side as the Iranian regime, an enemy of Britain, of the Houthis, an enemy of Britain. The sides are very clear, and it's a very simple moral choice for the world. Are you going to back the terrorist organization that is vowing to do October 7th again and again while it holds over 100 hostages? Or are you going to back the democratic ally that is trying to prevent those barbaric atrocities in which whole families were burned alive in their beds? That is the choice. And the Israeli people are united in their determination that we must bring the hostages home and make sure that Hamas can never do that again. I mentioned the hostages' families. Saturday night, I was hosting the rally for the hostages' families.
Elon, look, we're going to have to leave it down, I'm afraid.
Everyone is united in the belief that there must be pressure
Eylon, all right, look, we're going to have to leave it there, I'm afraid.
Okay,
we're going to have to leave it there. James, I'm going to give you literally 10 seconds, mate. I'm sorry, but go on, finish it
All
off.
I would say is on one point that Elon's just made there, because they're all wrong, unfortunately, all the points he's made, but one point I would challenge is that when he talks about the Houthis being enemies of Britain,
apart from the ones
he talks about the fact that they've attacked British personnel, so have Israel. Does that make them an enemy?
All right, look, both of you, thank you very much. We asked for a head-to-head, we got one, so thank you. That is the former Israeli government spokesperson there, Eylon Levy, and former Labour speechwriter James Mathewson. Thank